Tapayu Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Nami Dveshararo Nami Lopamoha Nami Vaimaro Matsarya Kama Nadarmo Nachato Nagamo Namoksha Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Na Punyam Na Papam Na Saukyam Na Dukkham Na Mantro Na Titam Na Veda Na Yajna Aham Bhojanam Naiva Bhojyam Na Bhokta Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Namindra Yushankana Vejati Veda Vinanaiva Vinaiva Mata Janma Nabandhu Namikram Guru Naiva Shishya Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Aham Devi Kalpo Nirakara Rupo Vibhutva Cha Sarvatra Sarvendriyana Nacha Sankatam Naiva Muktirna Meya Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Manobuddhyahankara Chittahinaham Nacha Shrotra Jigve Nacha Grana Indre Nacha Vyoma Bhume Na Tejo Na Vayu Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Nacha Prana Sangyo Na Vaipancha Vayu Na Vasa Dhatu Na Vapancha Kosha Na Vapanipadam Na Chopastapayu Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Nami Dveshararo Nami Lopamoha Nami Vaimaro Naiva Matsarya Bhava Nadarmo Nachato Nagamo Namoksha Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Na Punyam Na Papam Na Saukyam Na Dukkham Na Mantro Na Titam Na Veda Na Yajna Aham Bhojanam Naiva Bhojyam Na Bhokta Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Namindra Yushankana Vejati Veda Vinanaiva Vinaiva Mata Janma Nabandhu Namikram Guru Naiva Shishya Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Aham Devi Kalpo Nirakara Rupo Vibhutva Cha Sarvatra Sarvendriyana Nacha Sankatam Naiva Muktirna Meya Chidananda
A very good morning and Happy New Year to all delegates joining us today on this online platform for Week 24 Build Bharat, Safe and Secure India, a 25-week series which has commenced from 26th of July 2020 and now we are in the second last week of this series, a purely knowledge sharing series which has been progressing each Sunday. Our entire team of East Corp Group is grateful for all your support, interest, and time for connecting with us today. We are sure you will find the information valuable shared here. In case of any questions or query arising during the webinar, we request you to please type in using the Q&A option or raise hand, and we shall grant you access to unmute so that you may ask doubts. During the webinar, also keep an eye on the chat section for links to view our previous sessions, to enroll for our training programs, to join our ECG community for newsletters, case studies, pocket guides, and advisories on fire safety security. We are blessed to have presence of our managing director, Mr. Menachem Bachraj from Israel. He has 35 years of extensive security and military operational experience at all levels. Experience includes security projects management, business development, marketing, and knowledge of the state of art of security systems. Today, Mr. Mena would be sharing a case study on Taj Hotels as per request of one of our attendees. Welcome, sir. We have our group CEO, Mr. Hemant Khadse, who will lead this session. Let us proceed the session with a small prayer.
असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Come on, chant this one. असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Very good morning, warm welcome to all of you. Good to see you again back on Sunday, 11:30 sharp AM. It has been really exciting journey for all of us to be with you every Sunday morning 11:30. So, but then yes, today is the last second one, and the next Sunday will be the last of our series that we have been doing with you since last. More than 6 months. Wonderful journey. A lot of topics we covered. Um, some of you topics may be known to you. Some of the topics you could get refresh on. Some of the verbs, terms you never heard before. So it's all mixed because audience is mixed. Uh, and the purpose of integrating three elements together, fire, safety, security, is that always there is a gap in terms of knowledge. You can't really doing your job functionally, whether you are in business or whether you are in uh, doing some responsible role in the organization. You don't get a chance to uh, you know fill those gaps unless until um, there is a vigor in you, or there is a learning desire in you, and you are able to disciplined way spending that much of time. But then I think COVID is the one that had given that opportunity that you stepped out for some time, and then you could get on in terms of skill development, knowledge development, whatever desire that you had. And that is how we encashed this opportunity and reached out to you, uh, and finding this gap in the industry, that let's not have an excuse that I don't have a time now, and use our Sunday, which is the personal free time, in getting this knowledge and get that wisdom which you can practice on daily basis at your workplace when you're going back to work. But again, now since we are on a verge of completion of this, I again and again encourage, uh, reach out to us during this session for asking any questions, queries which is relevant to this topic, because then we are able to get that momentum, and we also know that we are able to meet your desire or expectation the way it has to be. So put in your Q&A in the chat option, uh, or otherwise raise your hand, and we will be more than glad to, I know, uh, assist you in terms of any queries that you may have. So various topics we covered, right from strategy planning of safety security till installation, construction, and the last phase, which is the operation maintenance training phase. uh, how we are going to build that system in the organization so that it not becomes a discipline. Ultimately, at one point in time, it becomes a culture of your organization. And that is how we picked up the last topic, which is going to be very, very interesting. um, the next Sunday session, do not miss the session, because um, Mr. Corey Pitzer from Canada is going to address the entire session, and probably we'll keep some 20 minutes, 15-20 minutes for Q&A session for any prior episode question, or for that topic that we are going to deliver on next Sunday, that is on safety culture. So that is how we um, added all petals together to offer you as a portfolio, as a knowledge portfolio to you, so that it becomes a journey for you, it becomes an experience for you. So what we have planned today is basically a little bit understanding on security planning, some of the terms that we refreshed. And Mr. Mena, my colleague, is yet to join. Probably it is he will be joining soon. The moment he joins, I will get to know, because he'll raise the hand. But he'll be joining very soon, and he's going to present uh, the Taj Hotel case, which I think Mr. Yogendra Singh has expressed in one of the session, and he has been a consistent, not only just a listener, but he always vocal about asking questions. So I said, let me respect his desire, and then let us learn from the people involved in that particular account. So Mr. Mena was personally involved working with Taj, including Ratan Tata. So that is how we will get to know from him. And of course, you are free to ask the questions. Only thing is that my challenge that he has not yet joined. I've just texted him to join. So hopefully he'll be joining. It's a time lag of 2.5 hours, so he might join. So that's not a problem. So that's going to be the first security planning, which we are going to discuss. Secondly, I want to touch upon, in terms of installation phase, what are the parameters that we need to consider, and then the last piece, which is the testing and commissioning and operation and maintenance phase, where what are the ingredients involved in terms of your fire safety management per se. So we'll uh, get a refresh on that. Those people who missed out earlier session can probably relearn. I'll pick up some of the questions that you may have, and that is how we are going to end the session with the entire refresh of all 23 episodes that we had done. I did some of the refresh in first last episode, which is last Sunday session, that I have tried to catch up on some of the initial session that we have done. So this is what today the agenda, and then of course we will catch up on next Sunday, taking up the safety culture, which is the most critical phase of the organization, or most challenging uh, uh, task of the bigger organization specifically, wherein you are involved with a lot of people, and then we have a lot of challenges in terms of creating that culture, because it is a long journey. So that is how we are going to be looking at today. Any questions before I proceed? Um No, we are not going to give any certificate, because this is not something a course. It is just information sharing. So we don't have any intention to give any certificate. But then yes, there are some of the program that we have launched, which we are going to discuss again. You may participate there, and that's going to be the certification programs. But this is purely awareness program that we have done. So sorry, Mr. Bablu, we don't have any certificate as such. Yeah. Okay. So I don't see any questions here, uh, which is okay. Okay, Mr. Singh. Yes, Mr. Singh.
हाँ सर, मेरी आवाज़ जा रही है?
Yes.
हाँ, धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ सर। मेरा नाम आपने आज लिया ताजमहल होटल के संदर्भ में, तो मैं धन्यवाद देने के लिए ही आपको कांटेक्ट किया। बाकी ओके है सर, धन्यवाद सर।
Afrin, just keep an eye on Mr. Mena. The moment he logs in, just give me a shout, because I might continue the session till he joins. So just barge in the moment you see him online in this program. Yeah. Okay. So let's discuss further. When we started this session, we actually divide into three parts. One is the planning phase, construction phase, and operation phase, and that's how we split all the programs. But design strategy is very, very important, and it's a foundation of your entire fire safety or security strategy as such. And unless until you have a strategy in place, you'll not be able to get the desired outcome or fulfillment of the objective that you have set for. So this is very, very important, that one has to spend enough time in understanding and implementing the design strategy. And there are various parameters that need to be considered. It starts with your identification. It could be risk or asset. Unless until we identify what we are going to protect, then only your uh, threat and vulnerability and risk mitigation planning begins. So asset identification, or defining your asset, is very, very important phase for the entire process of strategy. Then once you identify, uh, you understand the threat, vulnerability, and the risk associated for it, then you look at what is the assessment that I need to go and adapt for. So what is the methodology I need to adapt, wherein I can do a detailed systematic assessment, so that I can define what are my system requirement to mitigate those risk planning as such. So first and foremost step is your risk assessment. Then your starts your basis of design, which is the strategy, which is nothing but a strategy. Strategy is nothing but design of basis of design, which is again sometime not popularly, or not preferably people take into consideration. They jump directly into the construction, and they realize a lot of gaps in the operation and maintenance, because they don't enough spend time on planning and defining the strategies or basis, what is the required for the entire facility. And then once the design basis is done, then you develop a concept plan, develop your systems, design the system that are required in terms of drawings, document, deliverables, specifications. All these stuffs will come into the place, and this is very, very important as a design strategy phase one. And then of course you need to spend time on selection of hardware, software, or even peopleware requirement. I mean, peopleware is also important because people are going to be behind the technology. You can't have um, system without people involvement. And when it comes to safety and security, it is very important that peopleware need to be taken into consideration. So those are the requirement that will be an outcome of your design strategy. And then you start implementing those by procuring it, by getting the installation requirement, your operation requirement, your construction requirement, your site requirement, and your specifically personal requirement or organizational requirement. So based on that, you start implementing it, and that's how you are going to be integrating the entire component of the desired outcome that we have set for the organization based on the risk plan. And I'm using the word here integrate, and that's very important phase because I think I enough used this term before. And standalone system, even if you take as a functionally security as a standalone, it cannot work individually. It has to communicate with the allied function like fire and safety, and likewise for every system that we talk about it. So integration is the key, and unless until we understand that integration requirement and design planning, you'll not be able to do it physically on ground at the commissioning stage. So this is how technically the design strategy involves. uh, there are a lot of constraints or challenges in the industry. Reason being is, first challenge could be your resources. People do not have resources to spend time on formulating design strategy. But I think, to me, that should not be an obstacle. You can always look at the external competent resources which you think that they are competent, which you think that they can add value to it, and you can rely on those. So do not have any kind of a barrier that we in-house do not able to formulate the strategy when it comes to fire safety or security. It is always a challenge, and it will be a challenge. Doesn't matter the organization becomes big, still uh, in terms of knowing this specialty topic or subject is going to be challenged. So in that case, people have to understand that fundamentally first, and then select the right competent agency to formulate the design strategy, which can add value, and they can formulate the right plan for you. And that's how your foundation for the entire thing is there. I think first and foremost, it is very important that we need to understand the risk and what is this risk actually involves. Because unless until we uh, understand this term, and these are the term which often gets used, and people get confused sometime. Vulnerability, race, hazard. So these are various terms people often use. But then let us understand first and foremost the term that we use: threat, vulnerability, how interchangeably that we use, and how different those terms are. So in a risk assessment, when you look at it, and it could be a fire risk assessment, it could be a security risk assessment for that matter. There are three questions uh, that can get answered by the risk assessment. First is, what can go wrong? And it is very sensible question that you get a answer when you ask yourself, in your facility, doesn't matter you're a safety manager or a security manager or fire um, and safety combined manager, you need to know what can go wrong in your organization. Unless until you have a detailed answer, your assessment is going to be failed. So that's the first critical answer that you need to look for in an organization. Doesn't matter whether this is a medium size organization or a large size organization. Doesn't matter whether it's a hazardous plant or a non-hazardous plant. definitely every facility, there is something that exists which you cannot eliminate, but it can go wrong someday. And this is what you need to know technically. And this is what the risk assessment actually begins. And then what is the likelihood of that it can go wrong? What are the probability? What are the chances of getting that occur? One time in history, frequently, or someday. So unless until you understand the probability, the likelihood, the chances of that situation that can go wrong, you'll not be able to understand the severity of it. And then that's how the third question could be: what is the severity, what is the consequences, what is the outcome, how severe it is, how it is going to impact your organization, whether it is going to impact on asset, people, process, everything. So this is what technically three questions that can get answered from the risk assessment perspective. And these are fundamental knowledge that people should have. Like, there are many people I come across where they said risk assessment, I don't know, it's not my cup of tea. They said, no, I don't think so, we can probably have that study for our organization. But if you ask them these three questions, probably they will not have a quick answer because they never asked this question before to themselves. And once the risk assessment is actually done, then the risk management gets birth. It is the next phase. So it builds on the risk assessment. It builds on, once you get an answer for it, then you can probably get another set of questions which is going to be part of your risk management, wherein if I know this answer, now my management says what can be done, what is my mitigation plan. If I know this, tell me what it can be done. Then maybe you will come up with some options. So what are those options available to you? Once you identify several options, option one, option two, maybe short term, medium, long term, maybe based on severity, maybe based on the probability, then comes what is my trade-off, whether my cost benefit cycle allows me to invest right now, or I need to do it in phases, because the consequences is heavy, which is beyond my moral risk. I cannot wait for that incident to happen and then ready for the mitigation plan. I need to invest now. And that is how your trade-off comes. And people make mistake only on this third question, the trade-off. They know the risk, they know the options, they only do not know when it will occur. The frequency is the one that they estimate that since last 20 years nothing happened, it will not happen tomorrow. And they fail in delaying that action and implementing actions, and that's how your security lapses starts, because you are not able to um, understand the impact or frequency of it, and you are not able to invest on those options that are in front of you. Maybe it is given by your in-house experts or maybe external people, but it is just your belief doesn't allow you to do that, or maybe there is a cost benefit analysis that doesn't allow you to do that. So this is the important element of it. But there is another angle to it. Like in our case, personally, when we look at it, when you go to doctor, you can't expect doctor to treat abruptly, is it? Any experienced doctor is going to invest on analysis first. What is your problem area? Is it your stomach problem? Is it your liver problem? Is it your heart problem? Is it your uh, spondylosis? Whatever it could be. So first and foremost is what, I mean, you can relate what my discussion right now, what we are discussing, and in our personal life, what we are talking about now. The doctor is going to ask you a lot of questions. He's going to do a lot of analysis. Maybe he'll ask you to do a lot of tests. to verify your pain areas and then decide going to the further course of action, isn't it? And it could be then his strategy. When I say strategy, it is basically your mitigation plan. It could be short term, medium term, or long term treatment that he has to do it for you to get ill free. Or maybe there are options like medication, maybe there is a injection, or maybe there is a surgical operation based on the severity, correct? If suppose you go to the doctor and he said tomorrow you have to go to operate, what reactions you will have? First you will say, what is my severity? I mean, I'm not having that pain, and tomorrow you are saying that I need to get operated, right? There's a mismatch. It is exactly happening here. And there are many organizations who makes mistake just because they do not have time or they do not have resources in identification verification process. They get into any options which are not viable, and ultimately that becomes a liability, and it doesn't become their real security plan. So this is what it means, this risk management as such. And it's very, very simple terms I want to define here, because it's little jargon for many people. Risk assessment, risk management, I don't know why do I invest on that. I never have done this before, but this is what fundamentally it means. And when I give this example, I'm sure you will be able to understand this very clearly. What does it mean for you, right? But today, this is what the industry problem, that people are not um, uh, spending time and understanding what exactly they need to do. And that's how this thing question. And there are many people in the organization, they ask whether is my security adequate. But again, the question should lead to another question to them, which is adequate for what? When they ask the question, is my security adequate, you have to ask them question, adequate for what? And this is what it means. Once they know that this is what the pain areas, this is what I need to be ready for, this is what my threat technically or my vulnerability, then probably you can do it. So technically, this is what it means, risk assessment and risk management. uh, Also there are terms that I mentioned about is the vulnerability and threat. Now, risk can be again in mathematical ways. It can be probability or and the consequence. It is the impact of both variable. What is the likelihood, chances of getting that situation occur, and what is the impact? What is the consequence? But in other words, in other terms, risk could be defined in terms of theft, consequence, and vulnerability. Now, threat is basically nothing but it could be any unsafe act. It could be criminal, terrorist, or anything that can actually hamper negatively, or it can result to a negative consequence to your asset or to your people, to your property. It could be intellectual property, it could be physical property, it could be asset, it could be operations, it could be continuity of your operations, it could be anything. So anything that is negatively impacted or it is going to consequence badly, that act could be the threat for you. And this is how you need to understand how what are the chances of that threat occur in your organization. And it could be always in various forms. It could be workplace violence, it could be with weapon, without weapon, it could be for many resources or many act or forms. And today, the modern world, there are different threats which are pursuing. Like today, COVID was never a biological threat uh, pursued by the industries, right? But today this exists, and this is what the threat you need to understand. And then comes your vulnerabilities, which is nothing but the uh, weakness in the organization, which is ability to prevent that attack. It could be criminal attack, it could be anything. That if suppose your organization is weaker in preventing that attack, that means you are vulnerable. you have open areas there. You need to plug those. So how vulnerable it is, because if you know the weaker section of it, maybe as a layman term, if the door, if it is going to be not access control, it is open for all, right? So it's vulnerable for anybody and everybody to come in. So that what is means vulnerable. And then lastly is consequence, which is nothing but an impact. It could be again a negative impact, specifically when it comes to your assessment, how severely it can impact your uh, organization, how what are the fatality that can happen, whether people can get injured, whether people can get fatality accident, whether people can get hospitalized, or whether they need to be treated for a first aid or whatever. So consequences is the one that you need to be worried about, because what had happened in a lot of plants where gas leak happened, and they never estimated what is the consequence of it. It is not just within the plant it can impact, it is outside the city limit also it can impact. So that is what your consequence. And when they understand this consequence of gas leak, not to limit to their organization or plant, they invest on disaster management plan and practices. They invest on off-site emergency plan and practices. And this is what it leads from consequences. And this is what your risk management is all about. So bottom line is that the risk acceptance is I mean, this landscape is basically that it is a changing. It is not a fixed. It is not like today the risk what you have will remain forever. Risk will constantly evolving, and so as your risk mitigation plan has to constantly evaluated, and you need to invest on those mitigation plan and strategy constantly, because risk is not something which is constant to you. Doesn't matter, as I mentioned, to any scale of the organization, risk is always a variable term. So you need to see that how your organization is able to meet those modern criminals, because now technology on the other end also is going to get increased, right? So how are you prepared in dealing with those modern criminals or acts efficiently? And that is what your risk management is all about. So today there are a lot of innovation happening. There are a lot of IT and digital artificial intelligence way where you can mitigate those risks and create your own plan. So but then it is ultimately the organization's cost benefit cycle that you need to take into consideration. But it can definitely lead to a lot of predictions. Once you have this risk mitigation plan, you can predict a lot of uh, risk consequences, and you can develop those plan based on your cost benefit cycle, what technology tools you need to invest for, how we are going to respond in terms of security strategy as such. And this is how today the industry is going to be working all about.
Some Mena sir has joined.
Very good, very good. I will just uh, give him a right so that he can probably share his this thing. uh, Sorry, I just. Good morning, Mr. Mena. How are you?
Good morning.
Yes, welcome to the show.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent.
Very good.
Uh,
So I just briefed about the security planning, and probably I also uh, gave them an introduction that you are going to present the Taj case today with all the people, and
okay.
we will share this case study and how the security management plan is going to be required for any uh, business facility owners. So this is what we are going to do that. So maybe I will stop sharing my screen so that you can share your screen,
Okay.
and you can go ahead.
Okay. Can I share now?
Yes, please.
Well, I can't.
You can't?
I still disabled.
Okay, so let me just make you host straight away, so that it becomes easy. And then I can retrieve back from you.
Well,
You can now.
okay. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah, you can put it on a slideshow, so it will
Well,
become, yeah, perfect. Go ahead.
okay. Okay, so good morning to everybody. I missed the beginning because it's not 2.5 hours difference, it's 3.5.
Oh, it is changing. Okay.
Yeah, so this was my mistake. I thought I have enough time. Anyway, I would like to speak a bit about the risk management, and I will take as a case study incident that I was involved, not in the 26th of November, although I was living in India, in New Delhi on those days, but later on after the attack was finished. Immediately after the attack on the Taj and the rest of the places, which I will briefly describe in the next two slides, we were approached by the chairman of Tata Group, Mr. Ratan Tata, who asked us to evaluate the security situation in entire hotels, which is 120 of Taj all around India and the rest of the world, plus some factories belongs to Tata Group. But I will start with the attack that, as I believe most of you remember, that on the night of 26 November 2008 in India, we got what the American got in 11 September 2001, and this is a horrible terrorist attack by 10 Pakistani that raid 6 location in Mumbai, including the Taj Hotel and Tower and the Oberoi. And the rest of them are here in this slide. It was done by the LET, the Lashkar Taiba terrorist group from Pakistan that took place from Karachi all the way to the shore of Mumbai. And from the nine, so from the 10 of them, 9 was killed during the security forces activities, and the last one, Ajmal Kasba, was captured and was sentenced to death, which happened a couple of years later. They entered to the Taj Hotel. First of all, the first entrance was through the side door from the LA next to the main entrance, and two other stormed the hotel from the main front door. Nothing was stopping them, and I will describe what was the gaps in a minute. They killed at least 31 people in the hotel in these 4 days, which reflect a lot of vulnerabilities in the hotel security and in India as well, because I'm an anti-terror expert to reach to the hotel by the special forces within 2, 3, 4 days. It was very, very problematic, but you know all the details. So, what was the vulnerabilities in the hotel? When we came to the Taj immediately after the attack, uh, first of all, we understood that those terrorist group did some kind of what we call the intelligence gathering before an operation. They had a lot of information, what to do, how to do, and it's helped them a lot. And of course, nobody within the vicinity of the hotel was able to detect any kind of this kind of intelligence gathering. Second, there was not any security concept. When I'm talking about security concept, I'm talking about a specific security concept to hotel. There was no armed guard outside of the hotel or in the hotel. The security personnel that were there was untrained and actually they didn't know what to do in this case of very problematic incidents. The technology that was in the hotel was very old and not sufficient. Uh, when it happened, nobody remember or knew what is the emergency plans, what to do, and either to say that there was not any exercise in the hotel, what to do in case of emergency. You know, one of the 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 first rule that you have to evacuate the people against the direction of the attack. Nobody knew it. There is no tactical drills. I mean, nobody train or did some kind of training or imitate some kind of terrorist activity in order to train the hotel staff. And one of the very sad issues that no first aid training or knowledge was. I must tell you that out of the many, many wounded people in this hotel, many of them were wounded, but later on they died because of their wounded, because nobody knew to handle them and to get them the proper treat. So when we come to the Taj chain, we came first of all with a solution that based on security concept and training. But the first issue, and Hammond talked about it a lot during the webinar in the last weeks, that first of all, you have to understand what is the risk and the threat, and you are finding it through the survey because the solution has to match always the risk and the threat. There is no, it's wasting of money to start, let's say, fixing hundreds of cameras in a place when there is no threat over there. So this is the first bullet. Second one, after you are doing the risk assessment, you build the conceptual design and security plans along with technology programs. What kind of technological items I will add? CCTV, access control, video analytic, barrier, etc., etc. IT protection program. You know, nowadays, cyber threat is very, very dominate in the world, and you have to be able to protect your software, everything from a financial point of view as well. Training courses. Uh, it's not only to build a security system tailor-made, but you have to make sure that everybody know what to do in case of emergency and in routine. One of the most important is monitoring and control. I always say when I'm doing this risk assessment survey, or when I have some, when I'm doing lectures, that our biggest enemy is not the terrorist, is the day-to-day routine. So only through monitoring and control on a monthly routine, you can keep the security alertness on the right level. And of course, intelligent processing, collecting data, analyzing, and action items. And when I'm saying intelligent processing, I'm not meaning that now every hotel or every site will have to build some kind of intelligence unit. The opposite. You have a lot of intelligence from open sources, and by training your personnel to watch any kind of very specific behavior in the vicinity of the hotel or your site. So we built for the hotel a security ring concept, which consists of the first circle is the intelligence that you will get from the police.
Mena, I think
Yeah.
you change the slides. Your slides are not getting changed.
What?
Your slides are not getting changed. So you're on still first slide, I guess.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
At me, it's fair. It's a change.
No, it is on the slide one only.
You're kidding me. So maybe you will change him?
No, no, you can. You only can do it.
1 second. Let me see. Now it's on the second one.
No, our friend, you can see only screen one, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah, yeah. So
I don't
probably,
know. But when I'm doing it, it's okay.
yeah. No, what I suggest you stop sharing and again reshare it again, so you can do that.
Ah, that's pity. 1 second. So I was talking to myself.
Yeah, now it is. Yeah, I can see it now. The attack second screen. Yeah, now it is changing. Just put it on slideshow and then you can go ahead.
Ah, when I do it on slideshow, let me see if you can see it because I'm not sure that you will see it.
Okay, just see it.
You see it?
Yeah, we can see it. Change it again.
Did you see it?
No, okay, okay. No, then
Okay, let me go back. Let me go back. So, okay, you see now slide
yes,
number 2, the
yes,
attack?
yes, yes, yes.
Okay, I will stay on this now. 1 second. Okay, I will stay on this. You see the attack?
Yeah,
Second slide, you see?
yeah,
Vulnerabilities, do you see it?
yes, yes.
Okay, very good. So I was stopping on this one, and the solution of security training, as I explained. Can you see it now?
Yeah, all good.
Okay. So this is the concept of the security concept and training. You have all these bullets, which is consist of the entire tailor-made security solution for not only for the hotel, for a factory, shopping mall, whatever is needed. This is the way you should conduct your overall security. Now we build, do you see the security ring?
Yeah.
Okay. The security ring concept, we build the security concept with rings. And I would say this is the Israeli security method, which proved to be very, very effective. First of all, we have the intelligence. Intelligence is from open sources, from the government, from the local police, and from your people, which is looking around the hotel or through the CCTV system. Second one is alerting. If you notice something which is extraordinary, you should tell, according to the systems that we built, the control room or who else which in charge that you are notice something which is exceptional to the regular behavior in the area. Detection. If somebody is coming, you should be able to detect if he is holding something which is not legal. And of course, if somebody is entering to the level of the inside of the hotel, you have the prevention capability to be involved. Now, in the hotel specifically, what we build a hierarchy of the security division. And again, this one is good for many other sites. First of all, you have somebody which is in charge of the security, and this is the security manager. And then it's depend on the size of the site. You should have security shift manager, which is a senior agent or somebody with more experience than the agent. Of course, you should have the agent. You have a marshal, not in all the places. This is the armed officer. In the Taj case, we took some ex-policemen that had some license to hold gun, and there are the marshals in each front of the hotel. And of course, we have the guards, which is hotel employee or subcontractors, etc. Now, if you look at the hotel, you will see that here we have outside what we call the intelligence. This is the entrance to the hotel. You have the marshal. Here you have the marshal and agent and guard, and you can see for yourself who is doing what. And what we had in front of the hotel, and you can see it in most of the hotel, we had something which wasn't before. First of all, to check the car with sniffing dogs, if you have any kind of to identify any um, explosives. And second, we build in front of the hotel very decorative, huge planets on which even if you will try to storm with the car, you will not be able to do it. And of course, when you pass this barrier, you will find the X-ray machine, the magnetometer gate, and in the lobby, of course, you will find some more security guard. Not necessarily you will identify them. So this is what we built for the hotel specifically. How we did it specifically in the Taj case, and this is all the pictures is from this experience that we had. Now it's almost 20 years ago, less. But we conducted a 2 week course on the site for the security managers in the hotel. We started with the Taj Hotel in Mumbai. We stayed in this hotel for more than 6 months, almost a year. And we did all what I described earlier, starting with the Taj, and later on, we moved to all the hotels of the chain. So in this course, we explain about the terrorist organization and the characteristic, the mode of operation, what is hotel security concept, the role of manpower in the security. We emphasize on study cases of terrorist attacks against hotel, and unfortunately in the last 20 years, we have some very horrifying terrorist attack against hotels, very similar to what happened in Mumbai. We explain about the intelligent issues that I explained. We gave them some introduction to weapons and explosive using by the terrorist organization. We even brought some real examples with coordination with the local Mumbai police. We explained how do you identify some suspicious signs in person and in vehicle, and what to do in case you find this kind of signs. how do you do some search in order to find unintended items, operation planning, emergency plan, tactical drills. We emphasize and invest a lot of time in doing some drills during the 2 weeks of the course, and of course, later on. And for the armed forces, of course, shooting range practice. For the armed marshal, again, it was a 2 weeks course. In this case, it was in Israel. Later on, we uh, thought to move it to Mumbai area. And we explain again everything with some emphasizing on shooting practice and some specific techniques and hand-to-hand combat. And of course, we had some special training instructors in these fields. On the security agent, which was very important because the majority of the security of any site is rely on the security agent. And again, it was 2 weeks, it was 5 days and 5 days. And we went over all the topics that you see here, plus the use of body searching, handheld metal detector, drills, and of course, the knowledge of the hotel vicinity, which is very important. Awareness. We got some 4 days basic security awareness to the employees of the hotel, not to the security. We explained them how to identify some intelligence, which mean suspicious signs, suspicious indicator. We explained to them the emergency situation, rescue, and emergency drill. Here you can see, I believe it's the Taj Palace, if I'm not wrong, the check just before entering to the lobby. And of course, we taking what happened in the Mumbai attack. We went through 4 days first aid by a specialist and plus some training in order to be prepared in case of emergency. One of the most important after all this training was the implementation and how you do it. So first of all, the first very important is job training and during the implementation. And we did for now, it's hundreds, I believe it's thousands already. Ongoing process to improve the security plan and update to the relevant threat because threats are changing. So the fact that you have a security plan built 20 years ago, it's not saying that it's up to date for today's threat. So you have to be careful and to see that it's up to date. Crisis management plan to see that it's up to date as well. Security personnel to make sure that everybody knows his position and his duties. Field training to the forces and including the local police, what to do in case of emergency, etc., etc. And of course, head of department training in order to be able to understand what is happening from the security point of view, and of course, emergency drills. So in a very short, this is what we did in the Taj. The project lasts immediately after, I would say days after the 26th November. It lasts for almost 1 year all over the places. And right now, Taj is doing it by themselves. And that's it. If there is any question, I will be glad to answer.
Thank you, Meena. So, any questions, guys? You can raise the hand. Um, uh, I will just try to regain this host so that I can get on it.
Yeah, Hemant, you have to tell me what is
Yeah,
the.
stop
I
the
see.
share. Yeah, stop share,
Okay, 1 second.
and then let me see whether I can.
Okay, it's okay now?
Yeah, I will. Okay, fine. So, any questions? Let me see whether anybody has raised the hand. Otherwise, we'll get on it. So, I think there are no. Okay, there are. Okay,
Everybody is linked, is mentioning the technicality problem.
yeah. Slideshow. Yeah, Mr. Rajiv Kumar, you can unmute yourself. Yeah, can you unmute? Please go ahead. Okay, so maybe by mistakes, I do not know. So uh, I will lower the hand. Yeah, Mr. Singh.
हाँ आवाज़ आ रही है सर हेलो
Brilliant.
हाँ देयर वेर 4 लेयर्स ऑफ सिक्योरिटी और इतना होने के बावजूद भी अटैकर्स अंदर घुस गए
नहीं नहीं, वो तो उन्होंने बताया कि नहीं था 4 लेयर ऑफ सिक्योरिटी,
अच्छा अच्छा
होना चाहिए था.
ओके ओके सर आई मिस अंडरस्टूड सर थैंक यू सर ओके थैंक
Thank you. Okay, so let me just cover the next part of it. I have lowered hand in case anybody has any questions. You can still raise your hand, so I can unmute you. Let me just touch upon the second part of the discussion today. Thank you, Mina. It was wonderful. Uh,
Yeah.
so, a lot of clarity in terms of security gaps, and this is what fundamentally we wanted to get on this floor. So, good. So let's take on the second topic of the discussion today. Is during installation phase, what are the planning that is required for a user perspective? Because again, this is a critical phase, implementation phase, what we can call, or a construction phase, or an installation phase. So here it begins with your shop drawings. It is important that based on your design strategy as an outcome of a design has to be changed or formulated in the form of shop drawings, which is basically nothing but a detailed design development stage where you are fine tuning uh, to the greater level, where you are planning entire security elements or fire elements on AutoCAD or a piece of paper in a very detailed manner so that you are able to implement those actions on ground. Then comes as material safety data sheet, which is important. Material data sheet, not safety data sheet, material data sheets, which are going to be part of your system component. Then your procurement starts. Then your installation starts. During installation, it is important that people have to invest on inspection rather than uh, getting that surprises in maintenance. Inspection stage wise is very important phase, and then last comes as build layout. So if you look at it here, this is what the documentation um, bearing that user need to invest on, and it needs not only just resources, but it needs the dedication, it needs understanding of getting it done from the allied agencies, because this is not something that you are expected to do. You are only monitoring it, and you're ensuring that it is done by contractors or by the OEM or by the integrators that you are engaged on. So this is very, very important phase, and people have to really look at this as a involvement. And it comes your project engineering or system engineering, what you call it, again starts with your concept of operation, how this system is going to be operated, what are the architecture of it, what is the integration of it, what is the detailed design requirement, and that's how your implementation is going to be done according to your architecture, according to your integration requirement, according to your project requirement. And then once it is getting tested, verified, um, commissioned, then the operation and maintenance stage actually begins. So this is what a V shape or a V model of system architecture or system engineering that is important for this thing. And this is applicable for a large size of project, or occupancy is bigger, where you need to involve a lot of agencies, maybe consultants, contractors, architects, uh, you know, project managers, specialty consultants. So when you are mix of all resources, they must be aligned so that you are able to get a desired system which is going to meet your objective of your systems. And as far as integration is concerned, which is the crux of it, standalone security systems cannot be effective so as fire. So it is important that when you have a cohesive communication on any platform, it could be hardware platform, it could be software platform, or it could be humanware platform, but it must be talking to each other. And when they are talking to each other, then only that effectiveness comes, and a system becomes effective systems when you have integration done on the ground. So it could be fire alarm integration with smoke control, with the elevator controls, with sprinkler talking to fire alarm, emergency communication talking to fire alarm. So there are many area where you can achieve the integration via hard wiring, by soft wiring, or by human wiring. When I say human wire, that means people need to involve with each other functionally, procedurally. Okay, if it is SOP, standard operating procedures that you are defining it, it also needs involvement from other associates coming from different uh, department, and that's how it becomes a effective evacuation or security strategy or a fire strategy. So this is what means commissioning. Again, people sometimes get confused, or commissioning gets narrowed down practically, because people only consider commissioning means what, witness test, acceptance test, लास्ट जो समय होता है हैंडिंग ओवर का, उस टाइम कमीशनिंग होता है, and that's how people consider this as a commissioning, but it is not. Acceptance test is just a last stimulation test that you are only verifying the operation of your system, but commissioning actually begins in the uh, design planning stage only. It is like birth, and birth only happens when your designing formulation starts. At that time only the commissioning has to be done, so that you are able to verify, validate each component functionally, operationally, and this is how it gets progressed or monitored at every stage, and that is what it means a commissioning. And commissioning is a big gap in the industry based on my 27 years of experience in this fire industry, where people actually hurried up in commissioning, or there are at least more than 20-30% installation that I have seen, specifically fire, they never get commissioned. It is just installed, but they never commission in the eyes of codes and standard. So this is a very serious activity that user, when they are spending enough money, the capital expenses, they have to ensure that operationally, functionally, the system is going to do the job which is going to meet your requirement. And that is how your commissioning works. There are many ways in terms of commissioning. One is called a recommissioning, where there are systems which are prior commission, but they are not covering the entire aspect of a system. So then again, you do a recommissioning of your system, and the stages could be different. Maybe partially system was commissioned, maybe your expansion happened, or alteration happened, or modification happened in the overall in the last several years, and again it needs a recommissioning. So recommissioning is the one that is always necessity when you are expanding your systems, when you are modifying your building, when your plant gets expanded, so as your system, or maybe the entire integration was never commissioned. Maybe fire alarm system was commissioned as a standalone, but it was never tested and commissioned when it is integrated with your smoke management system, your elevator, your auxiliary systems, your PA systems. So that is what is recommissioning. And the second is retro commissioning, where commissioning that were never happened. So retro commissioning is also a need that many users need to find out based on your scale of the system, or the life cycle of your installation that you already own or you're operating it. And when you do retro commissioning, you will know the entire functionality of your operational. You will know the loopholes of systems. You will know the open areas, weaknesses of the system, and that's how you can strengthen your system by practicing the commissioning this thing. So there are many ways of commissioning processes. You need to do planning, you need to at the design stage, at the construction stage, and at the occupancy level, that is at the operation stage. So you need to see that all gets covered, your involvement is there, taking into consideration of each stage. And there are many big time users or global giants wherein they invest on external resources only and only for the purpose of commissioning audits. Their job is to only see that the commissioning gets enrouted at the planning stage, design stage, construction stage, and the operation and handing over stage. So that is how at every cycle it gets validated and verified, the entire outcome of your feature of or feature of your systems, so that there are no gaps and the integration is fully achieved. There are a lot of records. Time is constant here, but I think I have already discussed. But just to refresh on this particular parameter, today the documentation is the biggest gap, and gap is just because of the lack of awareness or interest. People don't have those records, what system they own, how old that system is, what are the features involved, what integration to what extent that the system has been done. And when you maintain your records well, your operation and maintenance cycle becomes more efficient. So there are many documents which originates from your design and planning stage, and that's how the commissioning stage starts from there, picking up the documents, preparing the documents. And when you invest on those documents during design and planning staging, then only you can validate the system feature and performance of your entire system. Otherwise, if you don't have the planning document itself, you don't have any level of checking the performance of your system. So it is important that what test parameters are going to be, what procedures are you going to implement, what are the checklists that will be followed, what are the log list of your system log list for your systems, what are the test certificate, whether it is compliant to local standard or a international laboratory standard, what are the conformance to design standards. Entire documents need to be prepared, and it is not something that it is difficult for a facility which is having 10-year-old installation or 20-year-old installation. We still can generate and prepare those documents, which is going to help and enhance your system effectiveness of your operation and maintenance. So it is important that when you're expanding your system or building a new facility, ensure your takeover is rightly done, system takeover before operation and maintenance stage. If it is halfway done, then probably there are chances that you will have still gaps, you will still have assumptions, and typically this problem happens when you have multiple organization or multiple departments involved in in commissioning of one system installation, like project, planning, construction, operation, maintenance. So if there are multiple departments involved, they don't have that kind of a easy communication. And if there are no documentation availability, that the takeover happens with the assumptions or without any documentation. And it is important that when the takeover happens, the department, the people involved responsible for maintenance, they ask those documents uh, to the people involved or concerned, maybe integrator, maybe in-house project people or planning people, because then only your system gets properly performed at the full maturity level. So there could be hydraulic calculations for your sprinkler systems, your testing standards, your manufacturing data sheets, your SOPs, your operational OEM instructions. So there are many documentation that are critical for maintenance stage. So coming back to the last stage, which is the operation maintenance stage, where you have to uh, develop a lot of documentation right from compliances, what are the records that you have been maintaining your systems, what is a plan, what is a maintenance plan for the entire system during your life cycle, how frequently are you doing your inspections, it is going to be monthly, weekly, quarterly, annually. It is going to be based on visual method, it is based on checklist method, it is based on the testing method. So that is again a plan and inspection you need to define so that you can implement it. Housekeeping is again a very important element. And then lastly, a training. Training is again a very uh, critical, but then that becomes somehow ritual in most of the organization, but not to the level where it has to be, because training is the one which is going to keep your system live, keep your resources uh, uh, trained and involved and engaged. So if you have a gap this as a training, then doesn't matter how uh, detailed documentation you have, people may not be aware fully because they don't know how to operate system, they don't know how to react to the systems, they don't know how to respond to the emergencies because of the training gaps. So it is important that if you're an operation and maintenance guy, you need to see that right from compliance to the training, you're involved and you are able to do your entire job well. So these are some of the training stages. If you're a department head of your organization and you are responsible for a training to be done for your resources, make sure that you invest on those parameters, like identifying what is the exact need of your training, develop the training module which is going to meet that objective, learning objective of your people involved, implement that on a regular basis, not a just one time basis, regular basis. So how that implementation, it is going to be monthly, weekly, fortnight, annually, semi-annually. So again, that is implementation plan. And you are the user, you are going to define that plan, not the trainees and it is per se. Regular evaluation, how effectively your organization is implementing that plan. Is information is reaching to the audience correctly or not? To what extent they are able to implement those learning objectives on a daily basis? That is what your evaluation is. How your trainers are able to discharge their roles as a trainer. What are their gaps? What are their skills gap? That is again a part of evaluation. And again, retraining based on your experiences, based on your plan, have that activity continuously. In fact, now Afrin will share you the link. It's a Google link wherein you can probably ask 10, 12 questions. It's just going to take few seconds only to fill those answers, but those questions will really ignite your minds. So make sure that you click on those questions during this webinar. We still have 10, 15 minutes time. So you can just spend some time parallelly and have those questions answered, because that is the one which is going to make, uh, that is going to, that is the analysis which will illustrate whether our organization is training ready. What are the gaps on a broader level? Of course, this is just a brief question that we wanted to throw you so that you understand the whole sensitivity behind training plan. Training needs, of course, we all know that it is more compliance oriented or a functional job oriented thing, people are not inclined towards having a awareness model in terms of safety specifically. So that's not a driving force, unfortunately, in India. But if it is leadership, supervisory skills, job skills, people will still invest on it. So you have to see that how those are aligned to your leadership skills, how those are aligned to your job skills. Because when you are doing your job, it is important that you are doing job in a safe manner. That is again a skill, doing job safely. And when that culture is already there in the organization, then the driving force will be there to do rigorous training as well. So this is what technical gap, and people do not have time. Nobody has time to invest on training. Nobody has money to invest on training, specially because there are many people, there are many organizations still consider that this is an expense, not an investment. So this is what the irony of the industry when it comes to training. But then there are methods which can explain and which we can talk about it, which will make sure that
היי,
your training becomes
אני בזום.
effective. So
אני גמרתי לדבר, אני עכשיו נשאר לשמוע.
we'll mute. Um, okay. Okay, so these are the topic that I wanted to talk about it today, so that you can understand the installation phase, operation and maintenance phase, and training phase, which is for your organization, that you can make your organization ready and get going. So with this, I really want to invite any questions. Before I move on to the announcement that I want to talk about it here, I can take some questions in case you have. You can raise the hand. We can quickly answer. I just wanted to make a couple of announcements here before we conclude this today's session. We have very important training program which we have announced a week before, which is Train the Trainer program, which is intended for only user professionals. Those are the professionals who carry a lot of knowledge, lot of experience, but need to sharpen their skills as a trainer in the organization, which is again the gap in the industry. And there is a lot of need in the industry where people want to sharpen their skills in a great way, so that they can become a successful trainer in the organization. So this is a program that we have launched. It is going to be on 14, 15, 16 Jan this month, which is going to be 3 days course, which is going to be 3 to 6. I cannot commit, but then I think there is a plan at the back end that I want to extend this to a 4th day, which is on 18th of Jan, which is Monday. This is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday will be a gap, and Monday I will probably extend this session with mock drill, with real live exercise where people want to demonstrate what they have learned in those 3 days. This thing. So that is going to be very, very rigorous, very, very engaged, interactive session. So please and please make sure that those who are interested registered today, inform all your teams, colleagues, so that they can also benefit out of this program. So this is the announcement I want to talk about it. This is going to be an online program, and will be a certification module. It will be very, very interesting and fun loving as well. But it is restricted only to 30 trainers. We are not going to get more than 30, because then the distraction happen and engagement may not happen. There is another program that we have launched already, which is again a need in the industry for people who are involved in operation and maintenance of fire and life safety. Maybe it's an add-on responsibility to many people. I mean, I have come across many admin guys who are also taking the responsibility as fire and life safety, because the organization is not ready to invest on the resources as dedicated resources. But then if they are responsible, it is organizational responsibility that they are also equally trained, accountable, so that they can give justice to their job. So not necessarily that people who are involved in this phase as fire and life safety are having a background as an engineer, are having a background as fire and life safety, but they are doing that job functionally because it is a need of the organization. So this is what the course meant for those people who are uh, into it, and they want to be a watchdog for the organization, how fire and life safety can be maintained in the form of audits and as an internal auditor. So this is something for the first time in India which we have launched this program. Many users can benefit out of it, but again this is for 30 people. We want to get it very focused way, and share the information, knowledge, experience to all the people who want to become internal um, auditor for fire and life safety. So this is what the second program that we have launched. Please click on the registration link that is in the chat option, and probably you can get benefit out of it. As I mentioned to you, next Sunday 11:30, this is a gentleman who is going to talk about safety culture. Corey Pitzer, which is he's a South African national, but now based in Canada. He represents from the organization called SafeMap International, and they are our partner, business partner, and he's a safety specialist since last 27 years plus. So very informative session. Do not miss. You don't have to again register for this, because once you are registered here, it's going to be same link. You will get an alert via mail and phone as well. But save this time for next Sunday, and it's going to be very interesting session for all of you to attend for it. Also, I sincerely request for all of you to work on a feedback, because this is a 25-week effort that we have taken in reaching out to you, sharing this knowledge, information, experience to you. But unless until, of course, we got a lot of feedback so far, but then I still want to wrap up this session next Sunday with a lot of feedback from you. So please make sure that you either reach out to us, our friend, via mail, phone call, WhatsApp, uh, group feedback, whatever that you want to use as a media. But please give us your sincere feedback, opinion. What is a reflection of this series that it has impacted your life till now? Those who have actually uh, attended many sessions, still they can recap the prior session using our Facebook and YouTube page. But we would like to hear from you. What is a reflection in your life based on the episode that we have done for you? What do you like most to apply? What do you think that it is relevant for you to apply on a daily basis? Because that will signify uh, the the outcome of this webinar that we have done, and we'll be more than glad to hear that from you, that what do you think that you liked most in the entire 24-week session that we have done for you, so that you can implement. Did we miss anything which you didn't learn, or which you wanted to learn, which you always have a desire to learn but we never expressed? So is there something that is missed out? So that also please tell us. Media, anything. It could be live question in the next Sunday session that you can have. We'll be more than glad to hear from you live next Sunday. Any question? At the same time, if you have any hesitation, use email, WhatsApp, so that we can hear from you when maybe we are going to take those questions in the next Sunday session, so that we can clarify whatever we can in our best ability. So uh, with this note, I really thank you for all the people participation. It has been really wonderful journey, as I mentioned to you again and again. So as you spending Sunday, and that too in a webinar world, is not easy. But I think there are many people who have been consistent and attending this session 1.5 hour, sacrificing their family time. We really thank you for their investment, and I'm sure it is worth investment for all of you. So with this note, let us conclude the session, because there are no questions today. But I would like to hear from you next Sunday. So let us conclude this session with national anthem. Thank you very much. See you next Sunday. Till that, take care, stay safe. We'll see you.